In the quiet moments before dawn breaks, when the world is still wrapped in gentle shadows, there exists a story that has whispered through the corridors of time for thousands of years. It's a story that speaks to the heart of every person who has ever wondered what it truly means to live a life of purpose, meaning, and unshakable faith. Today, we're going to step back into the ancient world, into the dusty streets and humble homes of Israel, where one woman's extraordinary life became a beacon of hope that still shines brightly in our modern world. Who was this mysterious woman whose name we don't even know, yet whose influence has touched millions of lives across centuries? What secrets did she hold that made her story so powerful it was preserved in the sacred pages of Scripture? As we unfold her remarkable journey, you'll discover that the Proverbs 31 woman wasn't just a figure from ancient history. She was a real person with real struggles, real dreams, and real victories that speak directly to the challenges we face today. So settle in, open your heart, and prepare to be inspired by a story that proves one person's commitment to excellence can create ripples that last forever. Our story begins in a small household in ancient Israel, where a little girl played in the courtyard while her parents went about their daily work. But this wasn't just any ordinary childhood. From her earliest memories, this young girl was being shaped by parents who understood that character isn't built in a day, but formed through countless small moments of guidance, love, and wisdom. Picture her as a young child, perhaps 6 or 7 years old, watching her mother knead bread in the early morning light. Her small hands would reach up, eager to help, and her mother would smile, guiding those tiny fingers to fold the dough just right. These weren't just cooking lessons. They were life lessons wrapped in the warmth of family love. Her father, too, played a crucial role in shaping her understanding of integrity and hard work. He would tell her stories of their ancestors, tales of faith and courage that sparked something deep within her young heart. When she made mistakes, as all children do, her parents didn't respond with harsh anger. Instead, they used each moment as an opportunity to teach her about responsibility, forgiveness, and the importance of making things right. Day after day, year after year, the foundations of her character were being laid stone by stone. She learned that every task, no matter how small, was worth doing well. She discovered that treating others with kindness wasn't just nice behavior, it was the right way to live. Most importantly, she developed a deep, personal relationship with God that would anchor her through every storm life would bring her way. As she grew from a curious child into a thoughtful young girl, something special was happening. The lessons her parents had planted were taking root, growing into convictions that would guide every decision she would make for the rest of her life. She wasn't just learning rules to follow. She was developing a heart that naturally chose what was good, right, and true. As the years passed and childhood gave way to young womanhood, our future Proverbs 31 woman entered what we might call her apprenticeship years. This was when she began to seriously learn the intricate art of managing a household, but not in the way you might expect. Her mother became her mentor, but this wasn't just about learning to cook and clean. Her mother was teaching her how to create an atmosphere of peace and joy in their home. She learned that a house becomes a home not through expensive decorations, but through the love and care that fills every corner. Morning after morning, she would rise before dawn to help prepare the day's meals. But as she ground grain and tended the fire, her mother would share wisdom about life, love, and the importance of serving others with a joyful heart. These early morning conversations became treasured memories that shaped her understanding of what it truly meant to be a woman of strength and purpose. She learned to see beyond the surface of each task. When she swept the floors, she was creating a space where her family could feel peaceful and comfortable. When she prepared meals, she was nourishing not just bodies, but souls. When she organized their belongings, she was creating order that allowed everyone in the household to function at their best. But perhaps most importantly, she was learning the delicate art of anticipation. She began to notice what each family member needed before they even asked. She could sense when someone was having a difficult day and needed extra encouragement. She developed the ability to solve problems before they became crises, and to bring calm to situations that could have become chaotic. These skills weren't developed overnight. They came through patient practice, gentle correction from her mother, and her own determination to excel in everything she put her hand to. She began to understand that excellence wasn't about perfection, but about giving your very best effort in every situation, no matter how ordinary it might seem. As our young woman moved through her teenage years, something beautiful began to happen. The lessons she had learned, the character that had been formed, and the skills she had developed began to come together in a powerful way. She wasn't just helping around the house anymore. She was becoming a genuine contributor to her family's well-being and success. Each morning, she would wake up not because she had to, but because she genuinely looked forward to the day ahead. She had discovered something that many people never find: the deep satisfaction that comes from knowing you're making a real difference in the lives of people you love. Her days became a beautiful rhythm of purposeful activity. She would tend to the small garden behind their house, nurturing vegetables and herbs that would nourish her family. She learned to care for their animals, understanding that these creatures depended on her for their well-being. Every task she undertook was done with careful attention and genuine care. But what set her apart wasn't just her work ethic. It was her attitude. While other young people her age might have complained about their responsibilities or looked for ways to avoid work, she approached each task with enthusiasm and creativity. She began to find ways to do things better, faster, and more efficiently, not to get done quickly, but to have more time to help others and take on additional responsibilities. Her family began to notice something special about her. When problems arose, she didn't panic or become overwhelmed. Instead, she would think carefully, seek wise counsel, and then take decisive action. She was developing the kind of practical wisdom that would serve her well throughout her entire life. During this period, she also began to develop her entrepreneurial instincts. She noticed opportunities that others missed and began to think of creative ways to contribute to her family's financial well-being. These weren't grand business schemes, but simple, practical ideas that grew from her natural desire to be helpful and productive. As our Proverbs 31 woman continued to mature, one of her most remarkable qualities began to shine through: her natural business sense. This wasn't something she learned from books or formal education. It was an intuitive understanding of how to create value and provide for others that seemed to flow from her generous heart and practical mind. She began to notice that the beautiful fabrics she wove at home were admired by friends and neighbors who visited. Rather than simply accepting their compliments, she began to wonder if there might be a way to turn this skill into something that could help her family financially. She approached her parents with the idea of creating extra fabric to sell at the local market, and they were impressed by her thoughtfulness and initiative. Her first ventures into business were modest but successful. She would spend extra hours in the evening creating beautiful textiles, then take them to market where they quickly found eager buyers. But what made her stand out wasn't just the quality of her work. It was her integrity in every transaction, her fair prices, and her genuine concern for her customers' satisfaction. Word began to spread about this young woman who created beautiful goods and conducted business with such honesty and skill. Soon, she had regular customers who would seek her out specifically, knowing they could trust both her products and her character. She began to understand that reputation was more valuable than quick profits, and that treating people well was not just the right thing to do, but also the smart thing to do. As her business grew, she never forgot the lessons of her childhood about helping others. She began to hire other young women in her community, teaching them skills and providing them with opportunities to earn income for their own families. She discovered that success was even sweeter when it was shared, and that helping others succeed didn't diminish her own achievements but multiplied them. Her entrepreneurial success also taught her important lessons about planning, saving, and managing resources wisely. She learned to balance immediate needs with long-term goals, to save for times of uncertainty, and to invest in opportunities that would create lasting value for her family and community. Despite her growing success and increasing responsibilities, our Proverbs 31 woman never allowed her achievements to make her forget about the needs of others around her. In fact, the more blessed she became, the more aware she grew of those who were struggling and in need of help. She had learned from her parents that true wealth wasn't measured just by what you accumulated, but by what you shared with others. This lesson took deep root in her heart and began to express itself in countless acts of kindness and generosity throughout her community. When she heard about families facing hard times, she would quietly find ways to help without drawing attention to herself or making them feel embarrassed about accepting assistance. She might show up with extra food from her garden, offer to help with tasks that had become overwhelming, or simply spend time listening to someone who needed to share their burdens with a caring friend. Her home began to develop a reputation as a place where anyone could find a warm welcome, a good meal, and genuine concern for their well-being. She had learned the art of hospitality not as formal entertainment, but as an expression of love and care for others. Travelers, neighbors, friends, and even strangers knew they could count on her for kindness and help when they needed it most. She also became known as someone who would speak up for those who couldn't speak for themselves. When she saw injustice or unfairness in her community, she didn't ignore it or assume someone else would handle it. She found appropriate ways to advocate for those who were being treated poorly, always doing so with wisdom and grace, but never backing down from doing what was right. Her compassion extended beyond just helping individuals. She began to think about systemic issues in her community and look for ways to address root causes of problems rather than just treating symptoms. She worked with other community leaders to develop programs and initiatives that would provide lasting solutions to ongoing challenges. When the time came for marriage, our Proverbs 31 woman didn't see it as an end to her personal growth and achievements, but as the beginning of a new kind of partnership that would allow both her and her husband to become even better versions of themselves. She understood that a strong marriage required mutual respect, shared values, and a commitment to supporting each other's growth and success. She brought to her marriage not neediness or dependence, but strength, wisdom, and a heart full of love that was ready to be poured out in service to her new family. Her husband quickly discovered that he had married not just a beautiful woman, but a true partner who would stand beside him through every challenge and celebration that life would bring their way. She supported his work and dreams while continuing to pursue her own calling and gifts. Together, they created a home environment that was filled with love, laughter, wisdom, and purpose. She never tried to diminish her husband's leadership role in their family, but she also never diminished her own gifts and contributions. She understood that the strongest marriages are built on the foundation of two strong individuals who choose to combine their strengths for the benefit of their family and community. Her husband began to develop a reputation in their community not just for his own accomplishments, but for the obvious wisdom and strength of his wife. Other men would seek his counsel, knowing that behind his good decisions was often the wise input and support of his remarkable wife. Together, they faced the normal challenges that every couple encounters, but they did so with a commitment to growth, forgiveness, and mutual support that allowed them to emerge from each trial stronger and more united than before. Their marriage became a model for other couples in their community, showing what was possible when two people committed themselves to loving each other well. As the years passed and our Proverbs 31 woman moved through the different seasons of her life, something beautiful began to happen. The character she had developed, the skills she had mastered, and the love she had shared began to multiply in ways she had never imagined. Her children grew up watching their mother live out her values every single day. They learned not just from her words, but from her actions, her attitudes, and her responses to both good times and difficult circumstances. They saw her treat everyone with dignity and respect. They watched her work hard without complaining. They observed her generosity, her wisdom, her strength, and her faith, and these qualities began to take root in their own hearts. When challenges arose in their family, as they do in every family, her children saw their mother respond with grace and wisdom rather than panic or despair. When opportunities for joy and celebration came their way, they watched her embrace them with gratitude and share them generously with others. These lessons shaped their understanding of how to live well, and they carried these gifts into their own adult lives. But her influence extended far beyond her own family. Young women in her community began to seek her out as a mentor and role model. They wanted to learn not just practical skills, but the secrets of living with purpose, joy, and strength. She welcomed these opportunities to invest in the next generation, understanding that the lessons she shared would multiply through their lives and the lives of those they would influence. Community leaders began to recognize her wisdom and seek her counsel on important decisions. She became known as someone whose judgment could be trusted, whose heart was pure, and whose advice was always given with the best interests of everyone in mind. Her reputation for integrity and wisdom opened doors for her to make a positive impact on her entire community. Even in her older years, she continued to grow, learn, and contribute. She never considered herself too experienced to learn something new or too important to help with humble tasks. Her humility and continued growth inspired others to approach life with the same attitude of curiosity and service. As our Proverbs 31 woman moved through the later seasons of her life, she began to reflect on the journey she had traveled and the legacy she was leaving behind. But rather than focusing only on earthly accomplishments, her thoughts turned more and more toward eternal values and the lasting impact of a life well lived. She had learned through decades of experience that the most important achievements couldn't be measured in earthly success or material accumulation. Instead, they were found in the relationships she had built, the love she had shared, the wisdom she had passed on, and the faith she had lived out day by day. Looking back, she could see how the simple lessons of her childhood had grown into the guiding principles of her entire life. The character her parents had helped her develop had become the foundation for every good thing that had flowed from her life. The skills she had learned in her youth had multiplied into opportunities to bless others throughout her adult years. She understood now that her life had been part of a much larger story. Every act of kindness, every moment of faithful service, every word of wisdom she had shared had created ripples that had touched lives in ways she was only beginning to understand. The young women she had mentored were now mentoring others. The children she had influenced were raising their own children with the same values. The community improvements she had helped create were still blessing people she had never even met. As she prepared for the final chapter of her earthly journey, she felt not fear or regret, but a deep sense of satisfaction and peace. She had run her race well. She had kept the faith. She had used her gifts not just for her own benefit, but for the blessing of others and the glory of God. Her final years were marked not by a slowing down of her impact, but by a deepening of her wisdom and a multiplication of her influence. Those who knew her saw in her a picture of what it looked like to age gracefully, to finish strong, and to face eternity with confidence and joy. As we come to the end of our journey through the life of the Proverbs 31 woman, we're left with a story that is both ancient and completely relevant to our modern world. Her example speaks across centuries to remind us that a life of purpose, integrity, and love is still possible, still valuable, and still desperately needed in our world today. What made her special wasn't that she was perfect or that she never faced challenges. What set her apart was her commitment to excellence in everything she did, her heart of service toward others, and her unwavering faith that guided every decision she made. These qualities are just as accessible to us today as they were to her in ancient Israel. Her story challenges us to look at our own lives and ask some important questions. Are we building character that will stand the test of time? Are we using our gifts and abilities not just for our own benefit, but for the blessing of others? Are we creating the kind of legacy that will continue to bear fruit long after we're gone? The Proverbs 31 woman shows us that it's possible to excel in multiple areas of life without compromising our values or sacrificing what matters most. She was successful in business, devoted to her family, generous to her community, and faithful to her God. She proves that we don't have to choose between personal achievement and loving service to others. Her example also reminds us that true strength isn't about being harsh or demanding, but about being reliable, wise, and gracious under pressure. She faced the same kinds of challenges we face today, but she responded to them with faith, wisdom, and determination that transformed every obstacle into an opportunity for growth and service. Most importantly, her story shows us that one person's commitment to living well can create an impact that lasts for generations. Every act of love, every moment of faithful service, every word of wisdom we share has the potential to create ripples that will touch lives we may never even know about. The beautiful truth about the Proverbs 31 woman is that her story doesn't end with her. It continues in the lives of everyone who chooses to follow her example of faith, love, wisdom, and service. Her legacy lives on in every person who decides to build character, serve others, and live with purpose and integrity. Perhaps as you've listened to her story, you felt a stirring in your own heart. Maybe you've been inspired to make some changes in your own life, to pursue excellence with greater dedication, or to look for new ways to bless others. That stirring is the timeless message of the Proverbs 31 woman calling out to you across the centuries, inviting you to join the ranks of those who choose to live lives that matter. Your circumstances may be different from hers. Your challenges may be unique to our modern world. Your opportunities may look nothing like those she faced in ancient Israel. But the principles that guided her life are just as powerful and relevant today as they were thousands of years ago. The choice is yours. Will you embrace the challenge of living with the same kind of character, purpose, and love that made the Proverbs 31 woman's life so remarkable? Will you commit to building a legacy that will bless others long after you're gone? Will you choose to see every day as an opportunity to grow in wisdom, serve with love, and live with unshakable faith? The world needs more people who will follow her example. Your family needs someone who will love them with the same dedication she showed. Your community needs leaders who will serve with her heart of compassion and wisdom. Your generation needs role models who will show what it looks like to live with integrity and purpose in challenging times. The story of the Proverbs 31 woman proves that one life, lived well, can make a difference that lasts forever. Now it's time for you to write your own chapter in this continuing story of faith, love, and service that began so long ago in ancient Israel but continues today in hearts that are willing to embrace the timeless call to excellence. Thank you so much for joining me on this incredible journey through the life of the Proverbs 31 woman. If this story has touched your heart the way it has touched mine, please take a moment to hit that like button and let me know in the comments below which part of her story inspired you the most. I'd love to hear how you're planning to apply these timeless principles in your own life. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and ring that notification bell so you won't miss any of our upcoming stories about remarkable people whose lives continue to inspire and challenge us today. Share this video with friends and family who could use some encouragement and inspiration in their own journeys toward living lives that truly matter. Until next time, remember that your story is still being written, and you have the power to make it one that will bless others and leave a legacy of love that will last forever.